Well, I would like to start with a simple observation. I would like to have you reflect on the fact that we are standing here in a train in the Netherlands where English is not the official language, but nevertheless, TEDx Maastricht has been able to organize 2 TEDx BrainTrain events within the same week with 16 speakers talking in English to an audience of passengers whose native language is probably not English. So I think this is really amazing. I think there are not so many countries in the world where this would be possible. I don't think it would be possible in the neighboring countries of Belgium or Germany or France. And I think the Netherlands is quite special and that it is possible to organize something like this here. I would like to ask you to raise your hand and say if English is your native language. One? Only one? Yes, only Dan. And how many of you use English at work? Yes, so a little bit more. And how many of you speak another or more foreign languages? Yes. So maybe you have noticed that I am not a native speaker of English. And maybe some of you have also noticed that there is something Asian about me. So if we would meet for the first time, probably during the conversation, you would ask me, where do you come from? So then my answer would be, I was born in Brazil and I grew up in several countries. I grew up in Pakistan and in Japan, in France, and also I spent some time in the US. I spent some time in Israel before settling down in the Netherlands. And so then your question might be, how many languages do you speak? And I would tell you that I speak several languages, that I speak 7 languages. And then, well, anyway, this is the type of conversation that happens to me all the time. And I think this is something that also used to bother me when I was a teenager. At the time, I was living with my family in a provincial city, southwest of Paris, 250 kilometers southwest from Paris. And we used to take the public bus to go to high school. My sister and I used to do something that was a bit childish, I think, now when I think of it. But we used to talk together in French, a bit louder than necessary so that people would overhear us. We would be a bit provocative. And we would speak in our best French about, we would have intellectual discussions about French literature, French philosophy, just complicated things, so that people would nobody had asked us anything, but we were just making sure that nobody would doubt our being French, just like everybody else, in spite of our foreign looks. And I think this betrayed our sense of insecurity. And I really have to smile about it now. But as soon as we would go back home, we would switch back to our normal way of speaking, which was very much a mixture of languages. So we would speak French and Portuguese and Japanese and English, and it was really very much a mixture. And later on, I also studied and learned to speak Spanish and a little bit of Hebrew, and now I speak also Dutch. So when people ask me how many languages I speak, I say, really, confidently, I speak 5 languages, and I can manage 2 more. And then everybody goes, wow, this is really wonderful to speak so many languages. But if I'm honest, with you and with myself, deep inside, I'm not sure at all that I speak any of these languages properly, including French, because French is a language that I only learned when I was 4 years old. It was my 3rd language after learning Portuguese and English first. So I have never really spoken French like a French person, because I studied French in French international schools. And my French is not exactly, I don't use the same type of stylish expressions. I don't use sophisticated words. I don't use slang at all. So sometimes I think that I am an imposter, that I am going to be detected by everybody as an intruder, and they are going to point their finger at me, and they are going to say, like in the film of the Body Snatchers, and they are going to say, she's not one of us. And this actually kind of happened to me last summer. It was really something that troubled me. I was spending my summer holiday in France with my family. We were visiting a village market, and I was talking to some artists there who were selling their handcraft. And then one of them complimented me on my French. So I said, I am French. And so she said, well, you have an accent. And so I said, well, maybe because I've been living here in the Netherlands, I mean, not here, I've been living in the Netherlands for the past 20 years, so maybe that's why I have a slight accent now. And so anyway, I kept thinking about this incident, and I must admit that it affected me more than I would have liked, because it kind of confirmed all my doubts that now, if I don't even speak French, I really don't have any language anymore. I don't belong anywhere anymore, and that's it. That's the end of my identity. So what I think is that whatever language I speak, it's always the global version of it, including English, including French, including Portuguese. Anything that I say I speak is the global version, and the global version is a kind of simplified version, a version that everybody in the world with some knowledge of the language will be able to understand. It's something that is devoid of idiomatic expressions. It's something that actually works quite well in international settings, in international environments, and that even native speakers of English end up speaking, because a lot of people won't understand them otherwise if you have too many slangs or expressions that are too local. So it's the kind of what you call global English, international English, but I think it applies also to Spanish, to French, to any world language. And I'm wondering how this is going to evolve, because I realize that there is an increasing number of people who speak this way, and maybe you too. I'm speaking this global English at the moment. You probably speak it too. And a colleague of mine at Maastricht University told me that among the new students who studied the academic year this year, a lot of them are third culture kids or global nomads. That means it's the new generation of people whose parents are from two different countries, who have spent their childhood in different countries, and I mean in other countries than their parents' countries, and who travel, who study abroad, who work abroad, and who are very comfortable in a global environment. And I think this is an evolution that is interesting to observe, that makes me feel a bit more home, But there is a film that I saw, it's called Code 46, and it's a science fiction film where everybody speaks the same language in the world. And it's a kind of English with a lot of foreign words, so especially Spanish. So for example, the word for password is palabra, and everybody says hello to each other with a Chinese word ni hao, and this is how people speak to each other in this film. So I'm wondering, when we are 9 billion of us in 2050 on the planet, are there going to be less or more languages, and is there going to be a bigger or a smaller variety of cultures, and how is this all going to evolve? And sometimes I think these developments are inevitable or unstoppable, or they seem so, but I would hate to see languages be a victim to globalization. And what happened to me after this incident this summer, I told myself I'm going to practice my French and improve my French and work on my French, really. I don't want this to happen. And ideally, I would like this to happen. I would like to do this with every language I say I speak. But I don't know if that's possible. I have 3 children. My husband is Dutch, so we raised them bilingually in Dutch and in French. But because we live in the Netherlands, they go to Dutch school. They are totally fluent in Dutch. They even speak with a local Limburg accent, and it's going really well. But with French, it's not easy. It's easier said than done. It's a constant effort, daily effort for me to have them speak French. And in fact, many of our conversations are, like language classes. And it's not very nice to speak like this, and I don't want to bother them too much. So one thing I've learned from the Dutch is to be more pragmatic, more accepting of mistakes, because I want my children to continue speaking to me. And let's see what happens. I don't know if you think this is all a conversation worth having if it's much ado about nothing, because anyway, none of this will matter in the future. The main thing is to communicate, and communication is not about excluding people, it's about, communicating, so including people. So these are the questions that I have, and I don't really have an answer, but it's nice if maybe some of you will have thought about it as well.
Give her a big hand, ladies and gentlemen.